I was like, all right, let me do that. You know, whatever. I'll raise $1,000. And the first day I had raised like $6,000 or $7,000. And I was like, geez, like I kept having to push the envelope back. Highly recommend whenever you start this, you know, make sure you understand where you're at. Don't try to pander for views and stuff like that. Just do your thing. Have something unique to bring to the table, because in the end, people want to see something different. They either want to see you be amazing at the game. You know, if you're playing like Call of Duty or Battlefield or something like that, they want to see you destroy lobbies. Or they want a personality that they can relate with, or both.
Boom, YK, thanks so much for joining in today, man.
Yes, sir. How you doing, man?
I've seen you around streaming, doing your thing for a while out here, so I'm glad we actually get a chance to kind of sit down and chat, learn a little bit more about yourself and your story.
Yeah. Hopefully some people can take away my story a little bit, and maybe we'll help people out a little bit. I don't know. We'll see.
Absolutely. No, definitely. I think there's a lot of insight in every conversation, man. But before we get too deep in everything, I just kind of want to know where you're at now. Like, what platform are you gaming on? What games are you playing? And if somebody's going to go to your channel, like, what do they find there?
Yeah. So currently I'm on Facebook with you as well here with 85K followers. Just hit a little milestone there. Not quite as big as where you're at, but hey, you know, we're getting there.
It's incredible. It's awesome.
Right around the corner. Hey. I currently actually play GTA 5M, which is role playing, which is cops and robbers kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I switched out. I used to do the Call of Duty thing like you guys do, but I wasn't growing very fast, so I switched it up.
How's it been? Because I know like Call of Duty, or rather GTA, is a massive game, especially on Facebook. Like, how's it been like transitioning over to doing some of the RP, which you guys don't know is much more like you're in character, right? Like you're playing a character as you're going through it. Like, has that been stuff that do they understand it when they come into it? Like, how's that experience been on Facebook?
So there's a couple different types of GTA streamers. There's your guys that are running around like the Hulk and blowing up the whole city, and people are really like, yeah, let's go, man, let's have fun. And those guys are cool. Like, they got some cool stuff going on. It's very entertaining. And then you have like what we do, which is kind of like staying in character. Like you said, it's an acting type of role play. And what you do is, what I do is I'm primarily a cop, and there's a lot of cops and robbers. There's bank robberies and, you know, crimes that happen throughout the city of GTA 5's world. And you have to stop the crime, essentially. It's kind of, you know, taboo, I guess, right now in these times, but it's a lot of fun though.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So, but before you kind of got into creating and doing some of that stuff, I guess, tell us a little about where you kind of came from with it and what you did even before content creation.
Yeah. So, well, I'll start with the content creation. Before that, I've done quite a few different things. I've, believe it or not, I went through the police academy when I was 22. And I did everything I could to get a job. I had a lot of trouble getting a job, so I went back to school for videography. And I did editing and videography. I ran my own business. It was a really good experience. I learned a lot. Photography and all that kind of stuff was involved as well. It was basically digital media. And so after that, my wife and I decided to travel the country because she's kind of like a traveling nurse deal. And we took off in 2018.
Wow, that's awesome.
Pretty cool, yeah.
So was that when you started your content in 2018, or when you started to travel?
So we started traveling in the summer of 18, and I really wanted to stream just for kind of like a hobby. And toward the end of 2018, I think it was November, I actually started on Facebook, and it was interesting. I was watching, I can't remember his name. He was playing Black Ops 3, and I personally liked Call of Duty. I enjoyed the game. And Blackout was just about to come out. And so I wanted to get into the battle royale of it, and it ended up being a really good move. I got in a little bit late into Facebook. Not as late as some, but not as early as others.
Sure.
And I didn't actually get, I got to grow a lot faster than many other people. I think I may have hit like the algorithm system really, really early on around that November area. And I was like, the first couple of weeks, I think I had my first 1,000 followers.
Whoa.
So yeah, it was kind of booming pretty quick. And Blackout was kind of, I don't know if you played it. I think you played it maybe very seldom.
Yeah, I played Blackout for a while.
Did you? Okay. And we were kind of parallel then, probably at the same time. And then I know you guys kind of took off. I think a lot of guys did Fortnite and they went back over other games and stuff like that. So, but I stuck it out with Blackout for probably 6 months, 7 months, and then discovered GTA, and I haven't really looked back. I mean, I did want to jump into to Call of Duty, but there's so many, just amazing players at this point. It's pretty tough to compete.
That's interesting. And so when you kind of started out streaming, then you kind of kicked right into like getting some people to find your stream and watch from there. Is that like, was it a pretty quick origination from that?
So within the first, I think 2 or 3 weeks, I ran into, I had people coming into my chat. I mean, it was booming pretty quick. And I had people coming into my chat asking me if I had played with I think they were called the Stream Team at the time, and it had Rasta La Vista in it, if you know who he is, which I know you do. And they were telling me, go check him out. So I went and checked him out, and he was just destroying this lobby. And I was like, dude, this dude's a beast. So I picked him up, like I hit him up, and I was like, let's go, man, let's play some games. And, the first stream we had, I mean, it was like everybody that was in the chat on his end and everybody that was in the chat on my end, we'd say, hey, go over and check out Rasta La Vista. Hey, go check out YuppyKiller. Yeah. And man, I think that really helped out like a lot, like that networking together actually like boosted both of us in the beginning kind of pretty quickly. And his skill, I mean, his skill is so good, he just blew up on it.
Awesome. And then as you kind of kept on playing with it, like, what was it? Because it was a game that I switched off relatively soon. I think it was like Apex or something had come out, or it was some other game. But what was kind of like sticking on with it? Like, did that help you kind of bring the community together around the game? Like, what was some of that experience like keeping with it? And then I guess your transition as well.
Yeah, the Call of Duty community is amazing. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better community. And the main reason I even really kind of switched out was because I just couldn't compete with some of these guys. You got Picnic that was just killing, breaking records, Y8 and those guys, and Promise and those guys. We were all played together at that time on Blackout. But those guys are so freaking good, and when they switched over, like I couldn't compete with those guys. So I took kind of the GTA world, and I was so good at RP, and I just got better and better, and I know my stuff with. With the law enforcement side of it, I really just kind of took off as one of the top cops in RP. I mean, I don't know how Twitch works and how many of those guys are over there, but I feel like, when it comes down to it, I'm probably up there in the top 10%, 5%,
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's really cool. And to kind of see where your strengths kind of lied within that, and like just your interest overall too, and to kind of explore it different, because it's a very, it's a pretty big shift kind of going from Call of Duty to GTA. Not that it's, crazy or anything, but it is a bit of a transition there, and to bring the audience over and kind of try that out, right?
Well, yeah, that's one thing is you lose a lot of your audience, because a lot of those people they either don't understand it, or they just don't, it's just not as entertaining to them, and then you gain a new audience. And actually for a minute there, I was like, man, I really want to do shooter games. So for a couple of weeks, I switched back over to COD, and the people in my GTA community, most of them really just want to watch you play GTA. At that point, it's the same deal. And you're kind of stuck there because, I mean, how the algorithm system works for someone who's a little bit smaller. It's tough trying to swim uphill, especially if you're streaming at the same time. A lot of these guys are streaming. It's tough. It's tough trying to get back into it. So
yeah, and even to transition in the first place over to GTA and to build a new community kind of around that. I've experienced that many times over the years, kind of switching between games and seeing. Yep. How do I expand? And then sometimes people just don't even watch, but then they'll come back when I switch to another game or play something else in the future, and they'll say, oh man, I haven't seen you for years, and oh, you're still doing what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I lost 100 some odd supporters when I switched. I was only at like 200, so I lost like half my supporters, and I think I gained them in threefold. But I mean, you just have to take that, you just have to be like, all right, it's going to be a couple of months where financially you're going to be beat. So, I mean, it's just what it is. So, I mean, your views are going to go down, everything's going to go down, and you just have to kind of weather the storm and build over.
Did you first join, was Facebook the first place that you had streamed on? Did you try YouTube at all? Did you try Twitch at all as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. I did start on Twitch. I started from the bottom, and I think I got like 33 followers in 3 months. I mean, I didn't go anywhere. Sure. I had maybe 2 or 3 people, and like CCV average, and that was probably me and my cell phone and my computer, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have much of an audience at all. So yeah, I did try on there. And interestingly enough, like I was saying, I was watching, dang, I can't remember his name. I think he does still stream, but he had like 15 or 20 people in his audience. And I was sitting there like, God, this guy's killing it. Like he's got like a bunch of people are actually chatting. He's actually responding when I message him in the thing. And I'm like, is great. Like, I was like, maybe I should switch to Facebook. And I even put it in his chat and he's like, man, you should do it. And I was like, let's try it out. So I started, I had one computer. I had, I actually have a picture of a before and after. And it's like one little desk with my computer. I had a laptop next to me for my chat because I didn't know anything about the streaming dashboard and all that stuff. And we went from there, and I did pretty damn good. And we went to we actually traveled. I was in Sacramento at the time, and then we traveled to Colorado, and that's where all the good stuff, like, we just blew up. It was crazy.
And so did you kind of just like decide to stay there and then continue to build your channel out and start to really like develop more? Because if you're getting some traction, people take different approaches with it, I guess. Like, what was your approach as you started to see some of the growth, and in terms of like your schedule or how you committed to it?
Yeah, so I've always had a weird schedule. I'm really, it's probably one of my least positive characteristics, I think, is my schedule, because I just don't know how to get like up at 8 o'clock in the morning and grind like you guys do. Like, you guys kill it. So that was probably one of the reasons. Maybe I was, not catching algorithm, or maybe held back a little bit. But I think that, I would recommend, and I do recommend for new streamers that are just coming into it, to hit a nice schedule and just, try to get started around the same hour, at least within that 30-minute window every single day, and just keep grinding. Because I know how it works, and I know exactly what I needed to do. It's just, the schedule thing for me is really bad. Like, and I know that probably hit me negatively in the end.
Well, how did you kind of handle it as, people are watching? Like, were you streaming every day? Were you streaming a couple days a week? Like, what was kind of it like for you as you did start to explore it, or maybe even as you caught wind more on GTA, or like how any of that went?
Yeah, so my thing's always been family first, and a lot of people are out there grinding, and they're working, they're grinding, and I've always been one to, that's why we started traveling, is because we wanted to see the other side of the country. I'm in Florida, and we wanted to see the rest of the world. So, I would take days off here and there to go up into the Rocky Mountains, or, do this and that. But I always, the one thing that I always did was I always made sure I posted something, a picture of what I was doing that day, or just, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. Just letting people know, hey, listen, I'm not going to be live today, but check this out. Or maybe even go live while I'm out in the, out in the boonies, and, I have some service, and just do a quick little, phone stream or something, just something to keep people, hey, this is what's going on. So yeah, I personally, like, I want to see the world, and that's kind of where I'm at, and that's kind of my goals. Because YOLO, right? So like, I do want to grind this at the same time, but you have to time manage. So it's a balance. It's a balance of being able to do that. Some people are just 1,000%, staring at their screen, and that's good, man. Keep grinding, keep getting where you want. Success is only what you I would consider the end goals, right? So my end goals.
No, I mean, to me, just even hearing that like, that's a unique thing in general. And even just being able to share some of that other content, like, that's going to interest a whole bunch of people that may not be interested in the 24/7 grind of whatever other game is. So it is an interesting perspective, and being able to use some of that content, like, that's super cool. Like that it tells me a lot about you and how you are creating and what you even want to do as well. And I'm sure that resonates with people that are interested in that as well, Well,
a lot of people have full-time jobs, and I've watched people quit that full-time job to do this full-time. And I usually recommend against that. I just, the reason for that is because of the saturation and amount of people that are in there. You're taking a chance. Also, you have to understand, like, there's no benefits, like, there's no insurance, there's no life insurance, there's no, this game is straight, like, what you make of it, and on the back end of what you do with your, with your own life. So a lot of people kind of think, oh, cool, I made a couple thousand this month, let me do this for a living. And it's like, I don't recommend that until you are really fully, locked in. 500 supporters plus, or whatever it is that you can do to manage yourself. And yeah, it's a lot of people really do want to push that. Like, let's go full send. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. And I unless you're 100%, let's go, man.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta be in a good position for it, and what makes sense for you. Still gotta be able to cover your responsibilities, because at the end of the day, it's still there, right? Like, you gotta keep on keeping on with what you want to do. But some cool stuff as well that I've seen you doing in terms of, as well as the stream. You also did an incredible charity event, raising over 11,000 for Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation.
Yeah.
I mean, that is insane. So tell me a bit about that and how you kind of incorporate, I guess, some of that into what you're doing as well.
Yeah, so I think we have another one coming up here in January at some point. Somebody had said something about doing another one, and so I got hit up by Empire Jerky, who was working with the guys at PBTF, Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, and they were saying, "Hey, let's do it." I was like, "Hey, let me get involved." They were doing like a Game On thing, which is their charity organization type thing. So I was like, all right, let me do that. Whatever. I'll raise $1,000. And the first day I had raised like $6,000 or $7,000, and I was like, geez, like I kept having to push the envelope back, and I ended up finding out that their top streamer had raised like 11,300 or something like that. I was like, all right, man, we got to match this guy. So, and he's a big deal, like he's a big streamer, but yeah, so I was like, all right, we're just going to keep grinding until we finish out 11K. And it took us, I think, 3 days to knock it all the way out. And it was incredible. It was cool. Yeah, I just kept going with it. Every star that I got was donated straight to it. And I did it on stream through PayPal. So, yeah, it was really awesome. I wasn't expecting it. Sure. I was thinking like maybe $1,500 at the most. And it was like, holy crap, this community is insane. Thank you.
Yeah, that is a huge turn. I mean, that's a testament to the community and just... I mean, obviously working with some cool organizations as well. And I guess even along those lines, you mentioned Empire, and I saw, you do have a couple other sponsors as well, Sneak, Secret Lab, AIM Controllers. How did you kind of get involved with working with some of these companies, maybe even bridging those gaps? Was this kind of you reaching out, them reaching out? Like, how was that process for you as you've kind of been working on it?
Yeah, so Empire, Dustin over at Empire, he's actually been in my chat quite a bit when I was early on, and he kind of, he would be in there, hey man, let's do this and this. So he messaged me one time, and then we kind of just, we just kind of like, both of us went about our lives, and he's grinding, doing his thing in the Empire world, and I'm doing mine. And we just kind of linked up again, and he was like, hey man, let's put it together. And then, some of them have reached out to me, and actually I've reached out to, I reached out to Secret Labs, and they got back with me, you just kind of send them your stats over and, see if they're interested in partnering up. And some of them are, some of them aren't. I've reached out to, you reach out to 100 of them, and if 4 of them come back, then you're good to go, right? So, but it's awesome, man. It's awesome to say that like they see the value in what I'm doing, and they hold me up. So I think it's kind of cool.
That's awesome. And I guess kind of in the similar vein as well, how did it go for you in terms of, getting into Level Up? Obviously, it's been a little bit, you've been in it as well. Like, how has it been working with Facebook and kind of, I guess, going through that journey?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. I haven't really worked with Facebook much at all. You know what I mean? Like, I've just kind of done my own thing. They've never really reached out to me. I've spoken to Josh a couple of times. I've spoken to some of these guys a few times. Like, I went to E3, and I've gone to the stuff and kind of hung out with some of those guys, and a lot of my friends are partners and stuff like that I started with. So it's been quite a journey on Facebook. But as far as like working together, I really haven't had much opportunities to kind of plant my my ideas or kind of put my my value into it. That's the only thing that I would say that I'm kind of lacking at that point is, I have all these sponsors and partners I'd kind of like to get involved on the platform side of things too.
And you mentioned, did you see you went to E3? Like, obviously, you've traveled quite a bit in the past. Like, is there anything, even if it's not even necessarily gaming related, but did you do any, or does anything really stand out with you with some of the travel that you've done for going to some of these gaming events, or even just like, you've traveled a bunch? Any of those that have really helped shape you, and maybe what shaped you the most from that?
There were life-changing events. I had never been to Los Angeles before, and going to E3 just in general was, I think you were out there. It's just crazy. Like, just the whole environment is just awesome. I went to PAX East, and honestly, it doesn't hold a candle to it. Like, but PAX East was awesome too, and that's the thing. Like, all these events are amazing, and they really do kind of show you the other side of gaming and in the development and like how Facebook's growing. Facebook had a gigantic at E3, they had a gigantic booth, if you will call it that. It was just huge, and like they had almost, it felt like a quarter of the whole place. If it wasn't that big, but it was huge. So you got to think like Facebook gaming is growing at an enormous rate, and they have, they have that to back them up, the social platform. And I think that's really good for everybody. I think anybody that wants to start streaming has a platform that they can start on that, is really going to give them a solid chance to start. I mean, I couldn't say that on the other platform that I had started on. So,
When you started on the other platform, I mean, it didn't sound like you had gotten too much traction on it to bring anything over, but was it still all the same, like name still same? Like, did you kind of keep everything consistent as you did, or did you try change anything when you did it as well?
Yeah, so that was the same. I had the same name since I was a kid. Actually, I've had that same name, and if you want, I can tell you about it. But basically, I transitioned it over to this, and I've never really changed that. I did kind of break it back a little bit because I felt like the name was slightly aggressive. Maybe that was holding me back from getting partner on Facebook. And I actually got some good advice from a pretty well-known big partner streamer at that time, who was like, hey man, you might want to, maybe think about this kind of stuff. And I was like, maybe you're right. I don't know. I don't know what they think on the back end. So I went ahead and shortened it down just to kind of make it a little bit less aggressive. But, in the end, it is what it is. That's my name. And that's what, I got to keep to my morals, my values of, what I started with and the name that I began with. The YuppyKiller thing is, when I was a kid, I was kind of like a, anti, what are those suit and tie guys, the whatever they are on Wall Street, those guys that'll, sell their mama for $1 kind of deal. So I was kind of into that. And then I grew up a little bit and understood like what entrepreneurship was and stuff like that. So it's funny because the values more, changed as I grew up and matured and got older, and, but the name really stuck because it's kind of catchy and kind of funny, and it has a little bit of a story behind it. So.
And so, I mean, is that something that you're trying to change? Is it something you're going to keep? Is it something you're thinking about, or?
No, I'll keep the name. Yeah, I'll keep the name. I mean, everybody knows me as Yuppie. I don't think, I thought about switching, just getting rid of the killer part and going with just Yuppie, but I think I'll just keep the whole thing, man. It's one of those things. I mean, I have partners that don't, they obviously know my name, and if it doesn't bother them, and you know what I mean, that most of these games like that we're playing are pretty violent anyways. If that's a deal breaker, then come on, man. Like,
yeah, no, and I mean, there's such a variation of how it goes throughout so many gamer tags, right? Like, I think it's kind of, it comes down to ultimately, like, what is your content? What is it that you're delivering? Like, what is it that people know you as well, and your community? A lot of times, people or different companies are going to want to be aligned in some way and make sure it's not too crazy with what it is. But, at the end of the day, it still comes down to your content in a lot of ways. Sometimes maybe it could be harder to bridge that initial gap, maybe if they just don't even really look any farther. But, it depends kind of what's going on behind everything. And
you're right.
I guess, too, like in terms of, behind scenes, everything going on, like, how has it been for you with friends or family seeing, what it is that you're doing or what you're trying to do? Like, has it been very supportive? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so I haven't really like pushed it on my family very much. Most of them know some of what I do. My brother just kind of recently stumbled into what I do, and he's really interested in it. My mom, she's kind of just doing whatever she's doing. My wife has been very, very supportive, and I think that's been one of those hurdles that a lot of people have to deal with. It's like, why are you playing video games all day? I've noticed that a lot of streamers, I've actually watched people get divorces and stuff while doing this because it's like, it's what their passion is, and the significant other just can't get on board with it. And thankfully, I've had a wife that's really been supportive of it and understands, you have to have an internet connection everywhere you go, and it's got to be a good enough upload for you to be able to stream in high quality. And like, she gets it. In fact, she wants to stream herself behind me. So it's been quite eye-opening, to see you have to have someone by your side that's loyal enough to say, okay, you're literally playing games for a living. Is this okay with, financially, is this going to be okay for our family? Sure. And are you going to be able to help pay the bills and that kind of stuff? And if, I could see it being an issue for some people, but thankfully I've never really we've been, just keep grinding. And she's been really, really behind me and helped me up.
That's awesome. And I mean, was that something that like you sat down and had to explain to her, like what it is you're even trying to do or what you're interested in? Or did she know what streaming or what content creation in general was at all around that?
I think at first she was kind of turned on by like what do you like, you're not, like pretty much anybody would be, you have to really kind of have that mindset of like, I'm gonna succeed if
Yeah.
to get into something like this. And I'm sure she had doubts. I'm sure she probably still has doubts. Everybody kind of, you can't, in this business, you can't look 5 years down the road and know exactly where you're going to be. You know what I mean? You can see the writing on the wall if you're at levels like yourself, but I mean, for someone like me, it's like, you never know. Like if I'm not here, I don't have contracts, I don't have this or that. You don't know realistically where you're going to be. So, and in the end, if I was to have a kid or something like that, then I'd have to dedicate more time to that. Like, I mean, as you know, that kind of deal. So it's very unstable and very risky. But I mean, there's obviously more riskier jobs out there. There's, obviously scarier jobs out there. So the one thing I can say is that, I'm safe at home. I don't have to worry about, being shot at or anything like that. Like I don't have to worry about the dangers of something falling on me or something like that. So I think the job itself is amazing. And the fact that we can actually do this and the popularity of what's been going on is unparalleled. Like you really can't hold anything else to it. I would imagine,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's a lot of fun. And the thing is, a lot of people don't see it as you being an entrepreneur, as like, hey, this is a business that I'm starting and what I'm doing. A lot of people just see it as, I'm playing a game. But that's how it is when you are starting a business. Like it comes down to you. Like there's nobody that you're just going to report to and do whatever it is, and you can just mail it in or whatever it is. It's like, at the end of the day, if you want to make this move, if you want to try and transition, it's up to your decision. It's up to your decision. Do you want to switch to GTA? Do you want, you know what I mean? So it's like,
that's right.
There's a lot that comes into that, and it can be a lot of pressure as well. But that's also what's kind of exciting, because you can figure out some of your own things as you're going through it. And I'm curious too, like as you're going through your day, like what does an average day look like for you? Maybe even early on, and maybe even now, like if it is significantly different.
You mean just like in general or just streaming?
Yeah, just just maybe like a day of like what kind of like a routine is for you, or how you kind of are managing everything.
Yeah, so for a while there, and I mean, I was posting on Twitter and stuff. Like I was working out every day. I was trying to get in shape, stay in shape rather, and just kind of getting up, going out for a walk. And when I was in Nevada, we lived in Reno, and I mean, you walk outside and it's just nothing but mountain ranges everywhere. It's amazing. I don't know if you've ever been to Reno before, but it's really awesome. Yeah, Lake Tahoe is great, so you should check that out. But so it just gave me a reason to go outside, though. I mean, obviously, when COVID hit, it was like I think everybody kind of had the same attitude. It was like nobody wants to go outside. You don't want to be around anybody. You get out of shape. You're eating probably worse. Everybody's kind of depressed, and it just kind of hit me hard. And I came back to Florida because we ended up losing our contract out there. So we, had enough to get back home and kind of settle back where we live. Mm-hmm. And my wife picked up a job and everything. And, and so now my routine is kind of slowly getting back onto working out in the mornings, streaming at night, and then, trying to keep time with the wife and watch shows with her and play with the dog. And there's a lot of stuff you have to do in the day. And when she works all day, so you have that time that you normally stream, you got to kind of sacrifice some of that. And when you get up at weird hours, because that's just how you've done it your whole life, it's sure. It is what it is, right? So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm curious because we are getting a little long here, and I like to keep these a little tight in general. But I think, like, what do you think is one of the most vital skills that you possess as a creator and as you've been going through this journey?
I think that I understand a lot more about videography type stuff. So a lot of people don't realize that half of your video is your audio. So one of the first things I upgraded was my audio. We both have the same mic, so we both probably understand that. A lot of people, they start out with these like, $10 microphones, and it's like people will come into your stream and they'll be immediately turned off because the audio is not good or the video is not good. I've showed people how to initially start their streams out who I'll observe some smaller streamers that are just getting started and say, hey, I think your saturation levels are really low. Your clarity looks really rough. I don't know what's your internet connection. I'll kind of break it down for them. And I've had people reach out, and I've reached out to them just to help them out because I want them to succeed. And I see that, I see myself and what they're doing. And I realize if I didn't have that skill, I could probably be, I probably would have been in their boots. So I try to give people like a little bit extra momentum to kind of understand what they need to do in this industry to keep people's attention and kind of bring people in and keep them around. And of course, I can't change people's personalities. So like I give them kind of pointers on what people may be attracted to. But I think that really my main skills coming into this was probably my digital media background, the understanding of this type of stuff, the rule of thirds, those kind of things and all that kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge contributor. And that's kind of cool that you have that. That was like a competitive edge you already had understood. You already kind of knew coming into it, which is awesome. And I'm sure you've spoken with a lot of creators. People even come by your stream, asked you, what advice would you give creators out there? Do you have any general advice or anything that you'd, say to somebody who's starting out or maybe working in this space?
Yeah. I mean, thankfully for me, I was kind of financially we were able to support ourselves while I started this journey. And I did kind of gain traction pretty quickly. The one thing I will say recently, and I know Facebook's just getting bigger and more popular. People are, I can't even count how many people have started because of me, like saying that you're the reason that I started streaming. You're amazing. And I'm sure you get the same thing. It's like we're having such a saturation. I highly recommend whenever you start this, make sure you understand where you're at. Don't try to pander for views and stuff like that. Just do your thing. Have something unique to bring to the table. Because in the end, people want to see something different. They either want to see you be amazing at the game, if you're playing like Call of Duty or Battlefield or something like that, they want to see you destroy lobbies, or they want a personality that they can relate with, or both. And if you have neither of those and you don't have something unique and you're not good at the game, you're just starting up the stream and, staring at a screen for 8 hours a day, then you're probably going to have a hard time getting your feet off the ground. So always have something unique to bring to the table for people, and they'll come around and relate to them and like when they send you messages, message them back. You know what I mean? It's like it takes you 5 minutes to write somebody back. It's not that big of a deal. So
awesome, man. Fantastic advice. Thank you so much for joining in and sharing your experience on this. If people want to check you out, find you, see some of the content stuff you're doing, what is the best place to find you?
You could go to YuppyKiller.com. That's pretty much where like everything's at. Or you just go to my Facebook, fb.gg/YuppyKiller, or pretty much everything's at YuppyKiller. I just keep it pretty across the board. YouTube, everything.
That's clean, man. That's great. That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining in. Again, if you guys want to find any more podcasts and everything as well, you can find it at pipeline.gg/podcast and all our information over there. Thank you so much for joining, and heck yeah, keep crushing it, man.